Stoller to the BRBC's Wake Up Wednesday. Beth is the CEO and founder of At the Podium LLC, a business that works with business professionals and entrepreneurs who want to use public speaking to grow their businesses and expand their reach. Beth truly understands the challenges people face when it comes to public speaking. After all, public speaking ranks up there as one of the top fears that people have, along with needles, spiders, heights, etc. But Beth has a deep appreciation for the fact that when an entrepreneur takes the stage, their problem-solving solutions can change lives. That's why she's always happy to speak with entrepreneurs like us, so she can offer ideas and information that will help us to connect best with our audiences. This morning, Beth is going to lead the discussion on how to be remembered for all the right reasons, 3 keys to building a memorable speech. So please welcome Beth Stoller.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll take my bows. So good morning, everybody. Screen share working, everybody see? All right, so we're gonna start with a corny joke. Let's wake up and be silly. So my first question to you is, why did the chicken cross the road? And I like interaction, so everybody unmute and throw out an answer. What's your reason this morning why the chicken crossed the road?
Because he was running from his past.
Oh, I like that. Okay, what else? Another one.
Because he wanted a different view.
Good. One more.
It was less crowded on the other side.
Oh, okay, sounds good. All right, and my answer is because he wanted to see all the fun we're going to have here this morning at the BRBC's Wake Up Wednesday. So, thank you. Now, I know it's morning and I just told you to wake up. Now I want you to relax, close your eyes, and imagine this. Think back to the olden days when we were in person attending conferences. Imagine waking up on a cold, dreary morning. You have to suffer through an hour's worth of traffic to get to that conference. You really didn't want to attend it anyway. You got in line, you said hello to a few colleagues, grabbed your coffee, and found your seat. The host began with their welcome message and introduced the speaker. But meanwhile, you're half-heartedly listening because you're answering your emails on your phone. Then something catches your attention. The host introduces the speaker, the topic, and boom, they've got you. They've drawn you in, and for the next 45 minutes, you're with them. You're listening to that speaker. All right, everybody, open your eyes. So that speaker spoke your language. You walked out of that conference feeling energized and inspired because the speaker connected with you. You learned something worthwhile. Now you're back at your desk and you're trying out one of the tips that the speaker shared with you. You're looking on their website to see if you can sign up to be part of their email list. You're looking for more ways to interact with that speaker. You've connected, and that's the magic of public speaking. With that, I want to say good morning to everybody and thank Kate, Aaron, and the BRBC for inviting me to speak here this morning. I was one of the first people that signed up when somebody said, "Do you want a speaker?" And I want to thank you for spending some time with me this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is public speaking. And why do I say we're going to be talking? Because I like interaction. So please feel free to interrupt and ask a question if you have a question of what's happening. I run several networking groups and my own masterminds, and my clients know that I love questions and discussion. So feel free to ask. If I cut you short, it's because of time and no other reason. So this morning, we're going to be talking about why public speaking is important for us as business professionals. We'll be learning 3 key elements that you will want to pepper into your talks, no matter whether it's a 15-second presentation or even an all-day seminar. We're going to talk, number 1, about stories and emotions. We're going to talk about humor. And we're going to talk about making sure that you have a call to action or a purpose for every talk you give, a way for your audience, even if it's somebody that you're just having coffee with, to keep in touch with you. And by the end of our time together, you'll understand why public speaking is a great way to market yourself, even in our COVID environment. So I've got a question for you. My question to you is, by a show of hands, tell me, who here is a speaker? Who here is a public speaker? Anybody want to show their hands? Okay, so this is actually a trick question because everybody should be raising their hands. Everybody is a public speaker on behalf of their own company, what you do. Every time we open our mouths, we're public speakers, especially in these kinds of networking environments. Communication is the backbone of our business. The ability to communicate is what allows us to share ideas, tell stories, and influence change. The good news is that public speaking is a learnable skill. No matter how much you might not like it, I love working with folks like you in groups or individually to help you discover this for yourself. Now, my next question for you is, why is public speaking important for you as a business professional? So I'd like to open it up. Would you please share a couple reasons why public speaking is important? Interactive people. Is it important because I said so? Barbara, any ideas? Go ahead.
It's the fastest way to actually make that connection versus email or texting or writing any kind of community. To be able to sit here right now, speaking with you right now, I'm the first one to answer your first question. No doubt you're going to remember that. I don't necessarily need that, but I'm just saying that is how you seize your power. And that costs nothing. A lot of businesses worry about cost. It costs nothing. Yep. And no one knows your story better than you, especially when it comes to business.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Great ideas. Anybody else? John, now that you're in there twice, share a little bit. Why is public speaking important for you as a business professional?
The reason is because it's really personal. Otherwise, it's impersonal. And there's always something about human interaction that makes it more memorable. Let's put it that way.
Okay, good. Maureen?
I was going to say that it's the best way to articulate the message that you're trying to convey to people. If you're relying on your website that may not be that great, or you're relying on your copy that may not be that great, or you're relying on your, the word on the street, which sometimes may also not be the right story, the message is going to get jumbled. So it's the best way to have an articulated message.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Anybody else? Anybody that I just did a name for? Lisa LaBella? Okay. Yeah. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. I think people said what I would have said, so I don't have a lot to add.
Okay. Some other great reasons are you're seen as a subject matter expert. You're the person in front of the room talking about that topic. So that is what you will get known for. It's a great way of sharing your knowledge, to grow your reputation, to build your brand. And it gives others exposure to you that you would, it's a great way of, our goal is always to meet a group of people to get to those one-to-one relationships. And public speaking is a wonderful way of doing that. So anybody have any questions at the moment? You with me so far? Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is, remember, the title of this talk is How to Be Remembered, right? So whoever heard of this acronym, WIIFM? Anybody know what it stands for? What's in it for me? If you're going to be remembered, your talk has to be totally relevant to your audience. You have to be talking their language at their level. And what you remember to talk about is not about you, but it's how to be a problem solver for your audience. So right now you're listening to me, but what you're really trying to do is figure out if I'm sharing something relevant to you so that you can use it in your presentations and your elevator speeches. This way you want to be remembered by who you're speaking to. Remember, everybody listens through their own experiences. So our goal as the speaker is to put the subject matter into a framework or context that our audience can relate to. Okay, so right now I'm going to turn the slides off and I want to get started on the 3 key elements that help you be remembered. No matter if we're doing a 1-minute talk, an elevator pitch, a 10-minute spotlight, or even a 30-minute talk, key number 1 is effectively using stories. Stories evoke emotions, and stories and emotions help us to retain our message. So I want to share with you a couple examples of approximately 45 seconds, an elevator pitch. Let's pretend that I'm a doctor and I opened up a fairly new practice and I'm introducing myself at a networking event. So here's example number 1. Hi, I'm Dr. Stoller. I always wanted to be a doctor. I went to UConn for college, graduated from Johns Hopkins, and opened my general practice in Bridgeport last summer. I enjoy working with older people, so please refer your family and friends to me. So that's elevator pitch number 1. I gave you information and I asked for a referral. Now let's try the second one. I knew as far back as when I was 10 years old, when my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, that I wanted to be a doctor. I went to UConn for college so I could save money to attend Johns Hopkins to be the best specialist I could. I met my husband studying late one night for my boards in the library, and we debated about whether or not to have children because we didn't want to pass Alzheimer's genes down. But thankfully, we have 2 beautiful, healthy children. Last summer, I opened my practice in Bridgeport. My specialty is, of course, Alzheimer's, and I hope to guide families along the best path to care for their loved ones. If you know of anyone who might be dealing with these issues, please send them to me. I'm there to help all families. Okay, so my question is, did you see a difference? What did you feel as a difference between the 2? All right, people, wake up.
The second one was much more personal.
Okay. And what else? Anything else? It was more personal.
It was personable. It was relatable. It made a connection. So it wasn't just some professional. It was, yes, a professional who can help you, but someone who also cares and is personally vested.
Absolutely.
The first
Absolutely.
was kind of a chronological list, outline. And the second one was even in the tone of your voice. As much as you make them even, the tone couldn't help you be more engaging, more personal, more warmer in the words that you were using.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was a story. It was a story. So I spoke about pain points in both of them. Alzheimer's is a pain point and how I could help. But one, I gave you a lot more emotion. Are you more likely to refer me because of the first one or the second one? Obviously, yes. So any questions so far? All right. Oop, there's emotions. So now that we've talked about pain points, let's move on to talk about how we keep people from being in pain during one of our talks. Do you like the way I sort of made that pivot? Let's discuss key number 2, which is the use of humor in your talks. There's an important distinction that I want to be sure is clear, that when I'm talking about using humor, I'm not talking about obviously being a comedian. Although there are similarities between comedians and speakers, our desire here is not to be a comedian, but instead to use humor to convey a message. To start this off, I want to share a video that I have. Oops, and I didn't share my screen, so you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, to start this off, I want to share a video. So let me open that up. Okay, do you see this? Okay, here.
Because humor is a bad thing. Is there anyone here that doesn't like to laugh? Anyone that's like, no, I hate feeling joy in my body? No, right? People think of humor as a nice to have. Oh, if I enjoyed my work more, if I had some fun, it would be great. But if not, oh well. The reality is that humor is a must-have. In today's overworked, underappreciated, stress-filled, sleep-deprived culture, humor is a necessity. Because humor gets people to listen, it increases long-term memory retention, it improves understanding, aids in learning, and helps communicate messages. It also improves group cohesiveness, reduces status differentials, diffuses conflict, builds trust, and brings people closer together. It does these things, and this stuff, and on and on and on. And it's all backed by researched case studies and real-world examples. And these are some impressive benefits, right? Humor can help you to look better, live longer, and make it rain, right?
Okay, I don't know about humor making it rain, but you get the point. So the most important things, it's a 20-minute video, and I'm going to share, I can share that with you. It's an excellent talk, but most importantly, it increases brain chemicals so that we feel better. It makes people open and more receptive to our talk. It sets the tone, and it puts people at ease because, of course, who doesn't love to laugh? So let's take a quick poll. How many of you have ever had to sit through a time where a speaker was trying to use a joke, but clearly it failed? Yeah, absolutely. And we've also, I'm sure, seen a speaker use humor effectively, where it just felt comfortable and natural. So I want to encourage you to use humor, and I want to give you a couple of do's and don'ts. So let's start with the do's. Hang on. Let's go back to here. Okay, so let's start with the do's. Do be self-deprecating. You can use yourself as the butt of a story, which shows that you're gently caring and making light of yourself to make others feel more at ease. For example, I'm 5 feet tall, and when I'm talking about public speaking, maybe I'd make a joke about trying to see over the podium. I can get away with that joke because I'm short. Depending on what it is, I can get away with making jokes on my behalf. So be self-deprecating. It makes people feel a little bit more relaxed when you can make light of yourself. Second thing is, know your audience and do your research. If you've spoken to an audience before, maybe your talk is for one kind of audience and not another, make sure that you check your jokes to make sure that you're not going to be what might be an off-color joke to one group may be funny to another. So you want to make sure that your content is relevant for your audience. Make sure that your point is relevant. So those are 2 do's. Now let's talk about 2 don'ts. Don't tell a joke, especially to start off your presentation, unless that is who you naturally are. We all know some people that are always funny and they can get away with it. But if you're not that kind of person and you start with a joke right away, you could set the wrong tone from the get-go. And the second thing is, if you're going to tell a joke, don't lead off with the words, I want to tell you a funny story. Because when you're telling them that you're going to tell them a funny story, if they don't think it's funny, that doesn't go over too well. Let your audience decide if something is funny without you telling them what it is. And the final point that I want to make that relates to, yes, humor, but also public speaking in general. Remember that delivery makes all the difference in the world. Your voice and your facial expressions. Your voice and your facial expressions, especially now on Zoom. So I can go, or everybody sees these facial expressions. And your voice, remember your gestures, your tone, your cadence is 3/4 of the battle. Nobody ever died from a bad joke. If you make a joke and it bombs, just look them straight in the eye and keep on going. If you don't dwell on it, your audience probably won't either. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so let's go to the third point. The third point that I want to talk about is providing a call to action, showing whoever you're talking to a way to keep in touch with you. In order to be memorable, you have to provide them with a way to keep in touch so that you stay top of mind. When you're talking about your subject matter expertise, you want to be the person that they thought of. Because you never know where your next client or referral partner comes from. Even a potential organizer, event organizer who is looking for a subject matter expert. It doesn't matter whether it's an audience of 1 or 5 or 500, whether it's a networking group or a one-to-one coffee chat. You never know who that one person is going to be, your potential new client and audience to speak to. And if you do your homework and you share your expertise properly, you're the person that they're going to think of. The hardest part is that sometimes it doesn't happen right away. Sometimes you never know that you actually did connect with somebody, but they don't call you for a period of time later. I've had people call me a year later because they kept my card. So make sure you provide them with a way to keep coming back. A speaker once told me that she was great at giving talks, but then she ran when the event was over. If you don't stay around for that relationship building part and you don't give them a way to get to know you or reach you, you can't build that relationship. You've got to give people a way to keep in touch. Maybe you have a newsletter that people can subscribe to. Maybe you do periodic emails. Maybe you have a low-cost introductory offer to share. If you've written a book, then you want a book signing. So before I close, I'd like to open the floor up for any other questions that you might have. Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's keep on going. So I'd like to thank you for being here this morning and for sharing, for being here with us. These are all the call to actions. Okay. We talked a lot about the use of stories that evoke emotions. That's a great way of making your points to be more memorable. People won't necessarily remember the details of what you've shared, but they'll remember how they were felt after hearing your story. We talked about why public speaking is such a great tool for you as a business professional. And we talked about some do's and don'ts when it comes to humor in your presentations. And lastly, we spoke about having a goal or a purpose of your talk. The importance of providing a way for an audience or the one-to-one person that you're connecting with to stay connected with you. And at this time, I want to lead by example and share with you my call to action. So if public speaking is something that you're interested in learning more about, I do offer 2 ways to stay connected with me. Sorry. Twice a month on Tuesdays, I send out what I consider an awesome newsletter, and also others. I've shared a little bit about what others have said about my newsletter. It's great public speaking tips, and you can opt out at any time if you don't find value. And in addition, I'd like to invite you to book a 30-minute coffee chat with me so that we can learn about what it is that you do and maybe how public speaking can help you be the subject matter expert at the front of your room. So if you have interest in doing that, if you would type in your contact information in the chat screen, this way it's giving me permission to add you to my newsletter and reach out to you as well, and we can schedule a coffee chat. And if you're interested in reaching out to me, here's my contact information. Put your information in the chat area, and then I'm happy to reach out to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth. That was amazing. A lot of great tips were just shared. I do want to invite you to stick around, and anyone else who is here on the call, we could considering we can't meet in person at the moment, and usually this is the time where we would be networking and chatting and everything, we will break into 2 small breakout rooms and continue this conversation for those who can stick around. So I invite Beth to kick that off with a topic or something to think about. And I do want to thank you all for attending this morning and being a part of this program.
Great, thank you. So connected with my talk today, remember we had talked a little bit about thinking back about other presenters that you've heard. Take a minute to think about the presentations that stand out most in your memory. And I don't mean just, you know, it could be a full day conference, or it could be when you're networking in a networking group, somebody who did an elevator pitch that was something that stood out above everything else. Because like I mentioned, presentations and elevator pitches, they are all just speeches. So I would like you to share with your group, and when you're in your breakout room, explain why you either related to it and you would give them business right away just based on the fact of what you heard without any more contact, or on the other side of it, how somebody totally bombed. And why do you consider what they said or how they said it something that you would never do business for whatever reason? So compare and contrast these 2 examples. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay.